Yo guys, it's Umair with the Grinding Ghost podcast. I'm here with
AJ Banjo.
and today we're going to talk about music like we usually do every time.
Always do.
Obviously you were telling me you had a conversation with your friend about what was it the Lil Uzi song?
Yeah.
I just want to rock.
I just want to rock.
So let's talk about that. So what did you lot talk about?
So he asked me what I thought about the track, and I was like, yeah, it's a calm track. I feel like Uzi has, hyper focused himself in this new genre that he's created. He's kind of separated himself from his peers, but he's got his core fans activated around this track, like it's going off. But it got me thinking about anthems, and I asked him like, alright, what kind of energy could we compare that to when it comes to the UK scene? And I was struggling a little bit trying to think of the track, and then he was like, bro, Doja, Central C, one of the biggest tracks of the year, you know?
Yeah, fully.
And I was like, yeah, fucking hell, like that was a movement just from that track, bro. Like,
to be fair, that's been his like whole recent career. Every song has been a moment. If you go back to like before Doja, he had the song where he sampled Pink Pantheress.
Yeah.
Then he had what's it called, Commitment Issues. Before that, he had like a couple of other big ones.
Yeah.
So he's like sort of mastered the moment. If you want to call it that.
Yeah. I think he has such an incredible team around him that capitalize on these moments, and I think because of his team supporting him in that way to make a track, not just to release a track, because I feel like artists, especially when they're coming up, they have a tendency to want to just drop and then drop the next one. I know consistency is important, but you've also got to make each release feel important. Each release needs to feel big. Like, your fans need to know that there's some energy around this track. It's not just whatever, like, and that's what he's capitalized on, and he's made Doja a moment,
Absolutely.
And literally just what you said. So I want to kind of talk about artists stepping into the studio, stepping into songwriting with intention. Like, I want this track that I'm about to make to have some intention when it comes out. Like, whether it may not be I want it to be a moment, but I'm gonna create a track. I'm gonna link up with a producer that I know that goes fucking hard, and I want a track that when I step onto Wireless, when I step onto Coachella stage, I'm gonna get the biggest mosh pit. I want that type of energy. I don't know if you know the track Stick. It's a Dreamville track, JID, Earth Gang, Kenny Mason. And bro, like, when you asked them about the track, they were like, we wanted a track that fucking goes off at festivals. Like, it's a huge track, but it's a festival track. Like, it's a festival track. One of the promo that they did for the track was getting JID perform his verse and do like a little snippet of that, and the crowd going crazy. So as an artist, I feel like these are certain things that you can start to pick up and be like, alright, when I step into the booth, even Lamar that we just had on, like, that last track they played us, no hints, no, we're not going to give it out, but for me, it gave that summer vibe. Like, if he wanted to capture, he's going to capture that. He can hold the summer.
You have to go
track
for an intention and sort of make it known that that's what you're going for when you meet the song. I feel like a lot of the UK doesn't do that. Like, you have like a lot of draw artists just basically release the same song. Every other artist is just copying another artist, talking about what they've done. That's it. That's really all it is. And then that's why when you have like even like artists like Heady One are starting to change it up. If you see like the recent promo for Martin Sofa, he's gassing it. He's gassing it. Now he's like, oh, when's Martin Sofa gonna drop? Everybody's like, oh, when's it dropping? When's it dropping? Did the same thing with the song before when he went to Paris and he recorded himself. Cool, he was taking the piss, but that became like a thing in itself where people are like, oh, this snippet of him just walking around in Paris slowly started having people like, oh, what's that song?
And I'm gonna tell you a story about like when I first started getting into the management side of things early on. Like, mind you, we'd never been to a professional studio before. Like, we were recording in our B-Tech music classroom, like dead mics or whatever. We didn't have anything, but it just, what you said just reminded me of how we were able to jump up attention. So we had this track that we were gonna call Fresh Friday, and I remember we were like, oh yeah, we're calling it Fresh Friday. We're gonna try to release it. I was like, I told all the man them, any snap that you take, any snap, because that was back when everyone was on Snap, you know,
yeah.
streaks and shit was popping. Yeah. I was like, any snap you take, any streak, in the corner or whatever, you have to write Fresh Friday. Like, it can be completely random, like have nothing to do with the shit. Just put Fresh Friday for this. Let's do it for like a week or so, bro. By, let's say we started on Monday, by Wednesday I had people coming up to me, yo, what's Fresh Friday? What's Fresh Friday? Like, what's Fresh Friday? Then you start to drop, oh, it's a track, you know.
Yeah.
Then you drop a snippet of the track. Like, oh, when you releasing Fresh Friday? When you releasing Fresh Friday? I want to say that the moral of the story is, if you do start to create some hype and you start to create a moment, have a plan, because we didn't have a plan. We had had all this hype, you know, from our friends and shit. And when we were like, we realized, fuck, one, we haven't even recorded the track fully, and we don't even have access to the studio. Like, we tried to record it in our music room. The mics were dead, the quality was off, and we kind of wasted the moment. But it was a lesson. Like, now when I work with my artists and working to create these moments, we have an end goal in mind. We have the finished. You got to be steps ahead of your audience as well. Like, don't let them bully you into releasing it. Don't let them like dictate when shit comes out. You already need to be 2 steps ahead. Like, you need to be like, yeah, we're gonna build this hype. The track is ready. Samples are cleared. You know, the labels, all the features are done. All the paperwork is done, so that when the moment does come and when that you're about to reach that peak, you're good. You can release it. No, there's no bullshit. No, oh, sorry guys, couldn't clear a sample. Fucking, I hate my label. Like,
a lot of people do that now though. Even I was like on TikTok, even big artists, they'll like release like a snippet. It'll go crazy. People are waiting for it to drop.
Yeah.
They're like, oh guys, I couldn't clear the sample. It's not dropping anymore. It's like, why would you do that? You're just first of all, you're pissing off your fan base. Second of all, you're ruining a potential hit that you could have had.
Facts.
Like, why would you go out of your way to promote music that you know you haven't cleared?
Well, and like, you're gonna condition your fans to not care anymore, because if they get hyped for something and then you just disappoint them over and over and over again, next time you actually do have something that's like, it's popping, I got it cleared, they're not gonna be as excited. They're gonna be like, oh, you know, who knows if this is even coming out? Or, like, I'm not gonna...
Like, that happened with Playboi Carti a lot.
Yeah.
Like, some of his biggest songs, and I don't know how he done it, are unreleased.
Yeah.
So many of his fans know him for songs that are unreleased.
Yeah.
Versus the songs that he has released.
He like makes he does a lot of shows, you know. Yeah. And that's kind of his aura. But I feel like Playboi Carti even though he's big in his circle, his fan base, he hasn't really crossed over.
Yeah, not really like that.
Yeah.
As much as other artists have.
Yeah.
Like, I'd say 21 Savage is bigger in the UK than...
Yeah, definitely.
Same with like even Lil Yachty, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely. But the thing is like, even a Playboi Carti, there was a lot of potential. Like, he could be on that same wave if he actually lived up to the potential that
I feel like the UK just doesn't cater to that sound though, because like, if you look at artists like Lancey Foe, right?
Yeah.
He's basically the UK version of Playboi Carti, and even he isn't popping as much as he could be. That's why he sort of shifted his focus to America. Like, a lot of his fan base is American.
Yeah.
Because the UK's taste isn't that, and that's fair enough. Not every market's going to be the same.
I want to big up the UK. Yeah, the UK, excellent taste, superb taste. You know, we just vet these guys. You know what I mean? You can't be popping just because you pop in the US. Don't mean you're going to be popping here. You know.
Exactly.
No, but that's interesting, and because I remember I had a conversation with Sadiq on the pod, and I was like talking to him about, you know, the UK scene. Is it varied? Is it just drill that's popping? Is it blah blah blah? And he was like, nah, man. Like, there's, like, if you're looking for R&B, there's R&B scene. If you're looking, and after that podcast, he actually opened my eyes to the vastness of the UK in terms of what's popping. Like, right now, did you know? Like, I was reading an article that Daze is doing. Like, one of the most popping scenes in the UK and Northern Ireland is let's say in Europe. Is Ireland. Like, Ireland is popping when it comes to artists. Like, just because it doesn't cross your bubble and your sphere doesn't mean it ain't making waves.
No, that is true.
Yeah.
There is a scene for pretty much every genre in the UK. They're just not as big as like the mainstream. So like, what's the biggest genre in the UK? Let's be honest, like it's drill. And rap. Obviously, pop will always be there. But that's pretty much two biggest ones. But there's a scene right now for like underground, hip hop music, chill rap.
Yeah, facts. I want to know, is drill the biggest, or are the biggest artists right now just drill artists? Like the drill genre.
It's the same thing. If the biggest artists,
I wouldn't say so, because pop, for example, like pop has, you know, mainstay huge pop acts, you know, but the pop genre is still huge. Like if you go to the vast majorities of like big open mics, they're like pop acts, you know. The actual genre of pop is way bigger on a local level, on the mid level, and the bigger level. I don't know if drill is the same way, in that the low level and the mid level and the top level is definitely big. But does, like, are all Essential C's fans like fucking with some like really niche fucking hardcore, more drill heavy?
I would say so, because like coming back to what you said earlier about, I don't know, is it just the biggest artists are drill artists, or is drill the biggest genre? I'd say the reason I'd say they're the same thing is because, right, if the biggest artist is a drill artist, he's making drill music, and if there's multiple of them, that by default makes drill the biggest genre. It's not like it's a I don't know, a trap artist doing drill. If it's a drill artist releasing drill music and it's number one, then drill's the biggest genre. Doesn't mean it's gonna stay like that. It's the same way, like if a pop artist is dropping pop music, pop music is the biggest genre at the time, if everybody's just doing pop. If it would be a different story if it was, let's say, I don't know, a rock artist doing a pop song and it goes number one for a bit. Then you can't say that rock is the biggest genre. But if the genre of the artist and the genre of music that they're making are the same, then I think it's the same thing.
I feel you. I think there's definitely a level of diversity in the UK scene, and maybe needs to be promoted a little bit more, because it's with the drill wave. I think it started with the sample drill era. There's definitely a bubbling of fatigue when it comes to that sound, and what helps, like, drill is going to be more successful if there's diversity, you know. If they oversaturate the market, it's going to lead to fatigue. But if there's diversity, then it allows drill to have a more sustainable, like, longer life. But we'll see.
I feel like there's a lot of life left in it, to be fair.
No, I agree. I'm just thinking, like, I'm thinking long term in terms of the level of a pop and a rock type of vibe. Like, who's going to make it out? Like, because you have to be real, like, in a landscape of music, the time, let's say drill's been popping for 5 years. That is tiny. It may feel like, oh shit, but it's still tiny. You know what I mean? Compared to how long, like, pop has been about.
But if you think about pop, right? Pop is like an umbrella term, because there's so many subgenres of it. You've got like EDM pop. You have artists like, I don't know, David Guetta. Then you have like pure pop, people like Charlie XCX. Then you have like sort of old pop, which is like R&B artists that are doing like pop, like Weeknd. Right. So there's a lot of subgenres of pop, and that's what's given it its longevity. Same thing with rock, right? You have like scream rock.
What's the subgenres of drill?
That's what I'm saying. That's coming back to what you're saying. Now it's starting to sort of branch out. So like before, drill would just be like hardcore, you know, talking about Chinging Man Down. Now it's sort of like gone down into like Central C talking about I got commitment issues. It's also gone into like a different lane of like what Nux does. Where it's like sort of like a jazz inspired drill. So there are like there's even like pop drill where Ed Sheeran jumped on that track.
Facts.
That remix, what was it for? Late Nights or Bad Habits. So it is branching off. Then again, drill is still an infant in the genre landscape.
But I think that speaks to the longevity of drill as a genre. Talking about fatigue, I think that's what it needs. Is the diversity when it comes to the sounds that is being produced. let's switch focus a little bit. I want to talk about, we had a little conversation on it, majors and their importance, and how relevant are they going to be, you know?
I mean, they will always be relevant in my opinion. You can't just take them out the equation, because not every artist wants to be independent. Yeah. Not every artist wants to do the whole, you know, release it myself, mix it myself, master it myself, have my own team, do the shows myself. Like, some artists just want to be artists and let everything else get taken.
I want to say being independent doesn't mean you're doing that. Like,
it does. It just means it means you're doing it. You might just be outsourcing it to someone else to do it.
But if you're independent, like someone like Lil Sims, like I'm telling you, Lil Sims is primarily focused on her creativity. She has a team that is going to support that. It's just not backed by a major, you know, and it's not necessarily outsourced. It's people around her, like major labels, more time, outsource marketing, outsource all of these because they can put money at bigger companies.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just want to put that out there because.
But I feel like not every artist wants that, because there's a lot of responsibility. Even if you have your own team, obviously you're not going to start off with a team.
Yeah.
You can go from 0 to being signed like that.
Yeah.
If you just make, I don't know, if you make a song that somehow pops on TikTok, right?
Yeah.
You can go to being signed and have a team straight away. You have someone handling your marketing, someone handling your production, you know, have a stylist.
Also comes at a cost.
Exactly. But if you want to do a slow grind, which might be for some people, might not be for some people.
Yeah.
Then you obviously have to graft your way until you can have a team, which then lets you afford the luxury of the team handling everything and you just doing your music. But there's a trade-off on either side. First one's you trading your money long term. Second one's you trading your time short term, right? So
yeah, but I think
that's why I would say majors are always going to be relevant.
The reason why I disagree a little bit in terms of their relevancy, as like the epitome of an arbiter of like what success is because statistic wise, labels in terms of revenue slowing down, independent scene growing, if you just want to compare like trends, but also the notion and what really sold labels to begin with was you're independent, whatever, but if you want to take your sound global, that's really where labels become the powerhouse in distributing to territories that just as an independent you won't be able to.
Yeah.
But with technology, with the increased globalized world, that is being achieved more and more by independents. Shout out 1010 Management. I've done some work with them. They got George out, you know, BET, in the US, you know, and they're an independent team. And it's like that sort of, back in the day, that was exclusively a major label attribute that they can get you into these places. Right now, I think if you're an artist, grafting and doing work comes with anything. You got to remember, like this, if you want to make this a career, you got to understand that comes some work. And I think building a team, you can do it, man. You can do it independently, and the rewards you get out of it may be way better. Especially,
but you have to understand the trade-off, though.
But even major labels are starting to recognize that that's the shift in the market, because the type of deals, like 360 deals, they're still there, but people are more clued up and not going to take that as much. They are starting to do partnerships with independent teams, you know. They're starting to do partnership deals rather than direct ownership of
also
artists.
With the whole independent scene, a lot of it is smoke and mirrors in terms of like what is actually independent, because a lot of people are independent but they have distribution deals.
Yeah, I'll still view that as,
is it really, because you're still being backed by a major. If a distribution deal is just another arm of a record label.
I think if you own your masters, if you own your publishing, if you know
But you don't if they're doing your distribution for you, you don't own your publishing.
It depends on your manager and how they negotiate
on your deal,
that.
Yeah.
It depends on how they negotiate that, and that's why I say that those are my parameters when it comes to independence, because I think for majors, their career has been built on their stake in an artist's career, and independence gives you that freedom to work with labels, but not necessarily have them as a vehicle for I am your artist now. I'm going to be under UMG. I'm going to be under Sony or whatever. We might do partnerships in terms of distribution, and again, distribution deals can be for project specific. Unlike a full signing where a label is going to manage everything. If you are independent, you can do a distribution deal with Universal and do it for a project, see how it goes, see if you fuck with them, fuck with their energy, and if you're like, nah, that didn't go as much in the way that I want it, your next project you could go with Sony, or you could do it straight independent, and that gives more power to the artist. Because before, if you were signed under a label and they handle your distribution and you're like, that was fucking crap, too bad. They got you for another 7 albums and you got to produce that, and you're going to go through that same bad process over and over again. Versus if you're independent, you could boom, do one project and be like, I want to renegotiate this, renegotiate our terms, and I want to go somewhere else. And you have the freedom to do that. Gives the artist and your team more leverage. That's why you need a good manager.
As if you want to do it independently, though. A lot of artists don't care. They want a short-term bag and then dip. Or they don't have the business savvy side of it.
I don't think most artists don't care. I think most artists aren't aware of these type of,
or they don't have the business savvy side to them. That's why they need a team around them.
Yeah, it's true.
If I'm like a 17-year-old kid that just made a song on TikTok, and fucking Warner approaches me and says, "Oh, we're gonna slap you 500k, and we want you," I'm gonna be naive and think, "Okay, cool, it's 500k." Yeah. Obviously, I won't know the insides of it unless I've gone and done my research.
Yeah,
I'll see. Okay, $500,000. I'm 17. Yeah, fuck it, I'll take it. Not knowing how that 500k actually works. It's not really money that they're giving you. It's a loan which they're gonna make back off the money that they make.
I feel like there's a lot of, and this speaks to the saturation of music in general. There's a lot of hobbyists. Like, there are people who make music and they're not necessarily artists. They're not necessarily they have a mindset of, this is something I want to do as a career. This is my life now. A lot of people just want to blow. They just want the socials. They just want the fame that comes with it. And yeah, boom, sign these deals. But that shit doesn't even last.
Exactly.
If that's your mindset as well, if that's your mindset, okay, deep it. All signs are pointing that we're headed into a recession.
Yeah.
All signs are pointing that. That affects majors too.
Yeah.
That affects majors too. Majors, especially investors in majors, expect a return. So let's say it's a hard year and a major, sees decrease in growth. Who do you think they're gonna drop? Who do you think they're gonna drop when shit hits the fan? It's all these little artists who made one track that ain't popping. They can't generate anything. They don't have any long-term goals. They don't have boom, and you drop. So there's no security in signing to a major. There's no security in there's no security in being independent too. But at least with independence, you're not going to get dropped unless you drop yourself. The power's in your hands.
I guess that is a valid point. Obviously, your career is in your own hands as an independent. But coming back to the original point that you asked, does that mean majors won't be relevant? I think that they're always going to be there.
Yeah.
Simply because they can capitalize on lack of knowledge.
Yeah, but I think there's, like, even with this podcast being out there and stuff, like, there's so many tools to gain that knowledge. Like, there's so many tools to gain that knowledge right now. I think over time, the artists are going to become smarter. Over time, artists are going to become more aware of these things. Like 360 deals. I remember when the era of the Lil Yachty and 21, when they were first bubbling up. Yeah. I remember Everyday Struggle, and that was one of the biggest moments was Joe Budden shouting at
about
Yachty
360,
about 360 deals, you know what I mean? So now 360 deals aren't appealing. I listen to drill artists right now who talk about their independence, who talk about how their mindset when it comes to signing. I was listening to, it was the podcast with Lloyd Murray when he was chatting about how he wanted to sign SL, and SL was like, yo, I'm gonna focus on my music, I'm gonna make you talk to my manager. And that's an art. Before it'll be you're from a major, boom boom boom, jump me on. Nah, he was like, no, let's pattern that through my manager and get something that works for me. That's why you need a manager with your best interests at heart.
Exactly.
But I think that's a sign that artists are now being a little bit more clued on. You got to think SL.
I still think it's at least a 10 to 15 year wait before majors aren't a thing anymore. I don't think so.
I look at someone like a Pink Pantress. I look at someone like
she's signed, by the way.
Yeah, I know, but I guarantee that she's not doing a 360 deal.
No, of course. No,
exactly, that's what I'm saying. No, but like, I don't think majors
being signed. I don't think it's not. 360 deal is one of the ways.
Yeah, but exactly. But I don't think majors are bad, or like if you're signed to majors is necessarily bad. I think it's the fact that we've moved away from 360s is a sign that artists are already evolving. You know,
yeah,
you've got artists like Chance the Rapper, even someone like Taylor Swift, who has navigated the majors. She basically, I think she signed to Universal. She basically left her old label and was able to literally write her contracts for Universal.
Yeah.
That is a level of artist independence that has never been seen. Usually the label's the one who dictates it. Now artists are dictating it. All I'm saying is, artists, you got the power. Yeah, but
yeah,
Spotify was an anomaly. Yeah. Now everyone's on Spotify. Once you break that ceiling, you can never shut that door again.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Once artist has a taste of that power, you can never shut it off. Artists, know your worth, know your values. Label, if you're with a label, if you're independent, focus on yourself. Make smart decisions. Get a good team. Get a good lawyer. Get a good manager. This has been the Ghana Goes podcast.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Blessed.
Until next time.